Hello everyone, we're back and on today's class we'll be talking about printing. Before we proceed, I would like to note that this is one of the most important class. If you didn't pay attention in the overview, if you didn't pay attention in fabrics, printing is very, very important because printing can make or break your brand. So without any further ado, let's get started. I would like to ask you a question is what exactly do you know about printing? Take a minute to answer that. In today's class, we're talking about the types of printing, the breakdown of screen printing, what printing should you use, using DTG and screen printing as a comparison factor, screen printing versus DTG, printing guide charts, how to create a printing file for manufacturing, color space, designing and printing in RGB and CMYK, DTF, costing of prints using DTF as a case study, how to lay print that saves in tons of money if you are printing DTF, tips on how to create a design that's attractive. Embroidery and patches and types of embroidery and patches. Let's get to it. What is printing? In the most simplest definition, printing on clothes refers to applying a color to a fabric in definite patterns or design. There are four main categories of prints. Number one is screen printing, number two is digital printing, number three is sublimation, and number four is vinyl printing. In the screen printing, this is where ink is pressed through a mesh. In digital printing, this is where a printer is used to print directly on the garment. In sublimation, this is used its transfer to transfer a dye into materials. The vinyl printing involves you buying a vinyl material. This could be silicone, this could be flex flock, using a cutter to cut out the print out, then transferring it to a garment. These are the features of DTS screen printing, sublimation, heat transfer, and printed cut vinyl and DTG in terms of color variance, color matching details, and feel, fabric details, durability, versatility, and satisfaction. Can go through this later. For DTG printing uses a water-based ink directly into the fabric. DTG printing applies a specialized ink printer that uses water-based ink and print directly into the fabric. This process allowed for full detailed and full color print along with color gradients that you find in like a picture. This works best on light fabric. On darker fabrics, you might need to print a base layer first. This is an example of a DTG print. DTF print, which is also a digital print. This involves you printing a PET film material using a film with water-based ink and a special adhesive powder. The design on the PET film is heat transferred to a fabric using a heat pressing machine. This means that you first print on a film, then that film is you put the print on a film, then transfer the print to a fabric with heat presser. When you are printing DTF, it's very advisable that you make your artwork at least 50% transparent for maximum results. Digital printing sublimation. Sublimation is a process that uses heat transfer to apply an image on intended substrate. When you're printing with sublimation, it's advisable your material is 100% polyester. The vinyl printing involves you cutting a design or image into a design material and using a special printer known as a vinyl cutting machine. Vinyl only comes in single color and is best used if your artwork is very simple, like a name or a simple artwork. We have screen-based printing, which is divided into water-based, plastisol, half-tone, and puff printing. When printing on a garment with screen print, each color of the design needs its own screen. If you are printing a Coca-Cola logo and it requires you to print a red for the background and one for the logo itself, the process needs to go through two processes. It means the process needs to go twice, one with the red logo color and one with the white logo color. What printing should you use? The type of printing that you use generally depends on your artwork, quantity, budget, and time. Take a look at this example. If you are printing a graphical work like this and you want to print just 10, the most suitable type of printing method to use is DTF. If you are printing 30 to 50 of the same artwork, then you can use DTG. The assumption is DTG gives you more flexibility because it can be produced in Nigeria and it can be produced in many quantities. DTG most times is produced from China and the MOQ is higher. Some DTG can be produced in Nigeria, but it does not give the maximum. It doesn't give you a satisfactory result. Photorealistic images such as this are best printed with DTF or DTG. The price difference between both of them is very, very minimal. The major factor determining them is the quantity you want to print. Example number two, if you are printing an item with sports colors like this, like when I say sports colors, you can see white, you can see green, white and green. The colors are very astounding. And you want to print just 10. It's advisable that you use DTF because DTF gives you flexibility. But if you're printing the same artwork with 50, you can use screen printing because screen printing is better and it's cheaper. Assumption number one is sports colors can be printed as DTF or screen printing. Assumption number two is DTF gives you more flexibility because it's produced in Nigeria and we are producing in many quantities. Assumption number three is screen printing requires you to be printing in bulk of the same design, like at least 30 pieces. Assumption number four, screen printing gives you a better result for sports colors with a mass color of 3 colors. That's if they are printing in Nigeria. In other factories across the world, they have better facilities for printing screen printing of up to even 12 colors. But in Nigeria, 3 colors, 4 colors is the maximum for good results. Screen printing versus DCG. I did a chart to explain the breakdown in terms of pricing. So this explains when you're printing 2 colors with screen printing, when you're printing 2 colors with DTG. Explain when you're printing 150 pieces with DTG, when you're printing 150 pieces with screen printing. And also when it's 5 colors and when it's 50 pieces with both DTG and screen printing. You can see that when you take a look at this, DTG is more effective with smaller quantities and with more colors, while screen printing is more effective with higher quantities and fewer colors. A printing guide chart. For screen printing, this is used preferably for sports colors, while for DTF is used when you have photorealistic images. For direct to garments, it's used when you are printing photorealistic images, and vinyl is used for very simple artwork. We've talked about this previously. I just did a breakdown to further explain it to you. How to create a design file. This is a very, very important part of the class, and I want you to pay attention. For photorealistic images, the file type are usually in 2 types, the JPEG or the PNG. Photorealistic images are images like this, that you have like a photo of a person like this. Looks very, very graphical. When you are printing artwork like this, it's advisable you source for a very clear picture. You lay the picture on an artboard you are printing. Let's say Photoshop or Illustrator. And let's say, for example, your printing size is 16 by 23 inches, which is an A2, or is 10 by 15 inches. It can be any size. You create a board on a designing software and you lay your artwork into that board. I'll give an example when I'm teaching how to lay prints for DTF. You create a board, then you lay the print work into the board and expand and reduce it to see the quality. So if I create this artwork, if I source for a picture of this artwork and I put it into a board and I scale it and increase it to the dimensions I want it to look like on a shirt from the artwork, I can know if the artwork is going to pixelate, it's going to look clear. So after you do this, you can know if the image is going to have low resolution, and when an image have low resolution and printing like that, it tends to get pixelated results. So after doing this, when you're exporting the image, when it's a photorealistic image, always ensure that the layers are transparent and export either as a PSD, AI, or a PNG file. This depends on what software you're using. If you have an experienced designer, you need to go through these processes. They will understand this. Finally, exporting as a JPEG automatically fills your artwork with a background, and this might damage your artwork. You don't want to send a design file to a manufacturer with a background, in which they have to influence the designs, remove the background. It's going to tamper with your artwork, and you might lose a lot of money. From little observation, how to create a vector file. A vector file is usually in an AI or an SVG. A vector file is more versatile and compatible with all printing methods. Utilizing a vector file is very crucial. A vector ensures clean color separation. One of its characteristics is that you can scale endlessly, and when you're designing a vector file, always make sure you vectorize the font. Here's an example of a vector file. A vector file is basically a drawing using a software. So this item was drawn from an Illustrator software. The beard, the beak, the eyes was all drawn. So you can scale this, you can reduce it, you can tamper with it. The quality is not going to reduce, unlike a photorealistic image which is sourced from a site or is taken by a photographer. Color space. When you are designing for manufacturing, it's very important to know that color space affects the final outcome of your print of your artwork. Designing in CMYK is very important for printing projects, which is different from digital displays that uses RGB color space. When you're designing many software, it's very important that you check the CMYK color space. So if you're a designer or you have experience with making designs, always make sure you are in the CMYK color space. You can check this in the settings of any designing software. If you don't do this, the color of the final outcome will not be reciprocated accurately. Let's take for example, look at this mock-up. It was designed using an RGB color space. This design was exported in an RGB color space. Look at the outcome over its standard. So I see it's totally different. So in most cases, the printer is not the problem. The problem is you did not export well. You did not design in the right color space rather. The color did not turn out as expected because it was designed in an RGB color space rather than a CMYK color space. So costing of prints in Nigeria. I'm using this here as a case study. For costing of prints, I want you to understand that prints are generally measured in paper sizes. It means if you also pay for a print, you pay for a print, even if it's screen printing, embroidery, DTF, majorly DTF, DTG, you pay for it in paper sizes, meaning A2, A3, A4, A5. This is how it's charged. In cases of screen printing, the size of the print, amount of color, and the complexity of design are also factors that influence the pricing. But I'm not taking just DTF. For a DTF, you can see this. You can see an A5, an A6, and A7. So the higher the number and the lesser the paper size. So you can see A7 is smaller, A6 is bigger than A7, A5 is bigger than both of them, A4 is bigger than A5, A3 is bigger than A4, A2 is bigger than A3, A1 is bigger than A2, and A0 is the biggest of them all. How to lay prints that saves you tons of money by pressing DTF. So let's take an example of how this works. So this is an A2 size and this is a PNG. You can know that this is a PNG because it does not have a fill-up background. Look at this. This is an artwork. This is another 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 artwork. You have over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 artwork. When a printer is going to charge you, they can either charge you individual or they charge you for the paper sizes, depending on how smart you are. So I already made this design in a Photoshop. I already laid the print in a Photoshop, different artwork. I laid it. This size of a print is about an A3, but it doesn't have enough width. So in spaces for me to input another print type and also put this and put that. So what you want to do is when you are given an artwork, you go to Photoshop and you click on New File. It will automatically ask you the dimensions that you want to use. Let's clearize this as A2 board. Make sure your intention is in portrait. Then the dimensions, I already put dimensions on the slides so you can check it. So for A2, we have 16.3 or 16.5. Let's make sure it's very high, is higher. You can put 16.8 or 16.9. Then the height is going to be 23. You can put 23.7. Just make sure it's higher than what you do and make sure it's in portrait mode. And you go to create. Yes. You have, if you notice this, there's a white background on the screen. So you want to make sure you switch that off. Come here and unlock it, and then turn it to AI and then switch it off. So this is what you should see. This small dots. So make sure this is a transparent background. So if you have your artwork your artwork they have created, different artwork, you just take that and you import it into Photoshop individually. This has been done already. But what you want to do is you also make sure that you when you're putting them in, that you arrange them in positions whereby you can fit in as many as possible. So when you're done with this, when you've played as much enough, there's still spaces here. You can put some logos here, you can put some logos here, you can put some logos. Just make sure you fill up all the whole space to maximize the use of your A2 board, because you're paying for this board A2. You're paying for this board as an A2. So you go to file, then we save as save a couple. So like come here and go to PNG. A2 board for class. So in cases whereby you need to print like 10 of these for different projects, you can just write A2 board class, write 10 pieces. When you send that to your printer, it's going to print that for you as 10 pieces and collect if the price of A2 is 2.8 or 3. It depends. This is not fixed price in stone. It varies. The prices might have changed by the time you see this video. It depends on your location. So but the person is going to charge you based off on A2, not charge you individually. In that case, in that scenario now, we have A2 28, A3 18, A4 1,000. This will vary according to printers. And sometimes in cases they even charge for smaller prints. So instead of getting charged for this as an A3 18, getting charged for this as an A3 18, that's about 3.6. Getting charged for this as an A4 1,000 you spend close to 1,836.46 and get charged for this maybe like 200 for small sizes, around 4K. You can save like 2K off that and get charged for this as an A2. It took me a while to figure this out, but when I figured this out, I saved close a lot of money from printing. Embroidery and patch. Embroidery is a process where intricate designs are made using stitches from one fabric to another fabric. The configuration of an embroidery machine is usually done with a digital pattern. There are different types of embroidery. We have the traditional satin 2D embroidery, we have the 3D puff embroidery, we have applique embroidery, we have chenille embroidery, and we have embroidery patch. The traditional embroidery is the one that most people do. Usually with a flat surface, it's two-dimensional, and it looks like as if you're adding, it does not have any texture or feel. It just looks very flat on the garments you make them on, and it looks outstanding. For the 3D puff embroidery, it looks a bit swollen and it gives you this foamy effect. You make this by putting a foam under the fabric, then you stitch threads on the foam. And the applique embroidery is where fabrics are sewn to another fabric. So applique embroidery is when you stitch another fabric on an existing fabric. That process is called applique embroidery. Then for chenille embroidery, this uses a specialized yarn that is used, not the usual embroidery thread. It looks thicker. It looks more appealing than the regular traditional satin embroidery. Then embroidery patch is when you make a patch with a fabric. Like you get all this fabric and you make a design on that fabric. Then you cut the fabric out. So you have a patch that can be used anytime and anywhere. So this method allows you to have different patches that can be sewn to different garments by different tailors. It's very advisable if you want to reduce the time that it takes to manufacture your product. Like you can simultaneously making an embroidery patch and also making your garments. So when they are done, the tailors assembles them together. So that was all for printing. If you have any questions in regards to printing outdoor, drop them in the comments below. I'll make sure to attend to them. We're excited to make sure that you put all these skills that I have learned into action. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you on the next. Cheers.